That's funny. Okay, we are live now.
All right.
Hello.
Officially.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a while, but maybe Huck, maybe you had moved and you're in a different spot in your.
I don't know, because I don't remember doing one of these since I moved, but it's been a very long time. When was the last one that we did?
I'm looking it up now. I was like, I have to know.
I was gonna go look at your channel and be like, when did we last
Probably
do
on
this?
Kara's channel.
Let's see.
Yeah.
August.
Oh, so it was right before you moved then.
Oh yeah, it must have been right before I moved.
Wow.
Because I moved like right at the very end of August. So that's a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like 6 months, because I just realized, like, wow, I've been here 6 months now.
Yeah.
It's so wild. Time just goes by.
It sure does pass, doesn't it?
Yeah, who would have thought time keeps moving?
Well, and because I guess that makes sense because I moved at the same time as you, basically.
Oh, you moved? I remember you were.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember you were looking at places, but I don't know if I knew that you moved.
Well, we're moved to Duluth. We moved to Minnesota in July.
Oh no, okay, then I did know that. I remember something about this. Clearly, my memory is my ability to retain information is not great.
No, because we moved here in July. We still haven't gotten a house. The market is finally starting back up again.
Okay.
Because it shuts down completely in winter, so
that makes sense.
Yeah. Though this winter was a very mild Duluth winter, I guess they still decided we're just not going to put houses on the market. But nobody would want to move in a normal Duluth January. But
yeah.
This January wasn't so bad.
It's easing you into it. That's good.
I know. It's very strange.
Well,
Hello.
Do you guys want to do quick intro and tell us what you're working on today?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Should I can go first.
I should have called on somebody in class.
No, I can go. I mean, today I am working on my reading journal, because I realized it would be difficult to get out. I have crocheting projects, technically the same ones that I've been working on for the last 2 years, but I didn't want to dig them out. And since it's the beginning of March, I haven't set up my my March section yet. I'm going pretty simple this year with my reading journal, what I've been doing. Let me see if I can give you an example. So in for January, so I've just kind of been doing a fancy letter, and then the name, and then I'm trying to condense my spreads a little bit. So I'm not doing really fancy cover pages and stuff. Although this year I did recently get one of those little sticker printers. And so it's this big, and it connects to an app on your phone, and then it I don't really understand how it works, because it doesn't have ink. It thermal prints or something like that.
Magic.
And then you get the sticker paper, so I can print out book covers and then just stick them. Obviously, I did not write any notes on these, but I did put little stickers of books into my.
That's cool.
Yeah, I really like it. Sometimes the colors are a little off. Sometimes they're not perfectly true to color, but it's so much better. What I had been doing before was just printing it on printer paper and then having to glue it in, and it was just really funny. So this is much more fun. Anyway, so March. Although I haven't been reading a lot lately, so I don't know how much I'm going to actually use this.
It'll be nice to look at during the month, at least.
Exactly. And that's what matters. That's what a reading journal is really for.
It's about the aesthetic. Yeah. Books, what are those?
The book aesthetic.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's so funny because you are literally the third person that I've heard talk about that printer in the last month.
Oh, really?
And every single person says, I don't know how this works. It just comes out in color.
Yeah. I don't get it, but it works
It's
somehow.
the little printer elves. They just take care of it.
Yeah,
I do not understand their magic.
Yeah.
I just find it hilarious because like everybody says that. I'm like, somebody should figure out how this thing works.
Yeah. I guess I could Google it, but I'll just enjoy the magic.
I might ask my brother because he does like I mean I know that 3D printing is different, but he does like that kind of thing and like design
Do
stuff.
we
So
have
maybe
like a 3D printer? Those things are.
Oh no, he doesn't have it, but it's like
Okay.
he's like studied it, like he's gotten like degrees
Okay.
in it. Like no.
I'm always so amazed when people actually like buy a 3D printer for personal use, and I'm like, oh my, those things are. I don't even know how much they cost, but I assume they are incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
I think one of the, I don't know where it was because I've moved too much, but one of the libraries had a 3D printer and like you could pay to like use it. And I'm like, I almost want to just like pay to use it because I'm just like, it feels like magic to me that you're just like, making something out of just this random stuff. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. It's such a weird thing.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Am I supposed to introduce myself now? Okay.
Yes.
I'm Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly. And
I realized I didn't actually introduce myself. I just started talking. Anyway, sorry. I don't want to interrupt. You go ahead. I just realized I don't know what I'm doing.
that's Huck from Badger Reads. It says it right there on her thing. We know what we're doing. We've done this before.
We are professionals.
And I just started knitting and now have started all the projects because that's what I do. I have to like jump in to anything I do to like full force. So I was showing Kara this before you got on, but this was my first project that I finished.
Ooh,
isn't that cute?
What are those things called?
Cowl.
Is that what it is? It's a cowl.
Or snood if you're British. I mean, I kind of want to call it a snood just because that sounds fun.
It's a fun word. Snood.
Yeah, but that was a class, like the beginning class is a cowl, and then if I take the second class, it's a hat, and you get to learn how to do like the ribbing, and then how to decrease. And I'm like, oh, fancy stuff.
That's right.
So someday I'll do the hat. But today I am making a scarf, a thick scarf.
Cool.
But so yes, I am using the circular needles to do the like knot in the round because yes, I have determined that is my favorite thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of knitters who much prefer using circular needles for like all the projects. So that makes sense.
And there might like be some projects where I might like prefer the other ones, but I don't know. There's something about these that I'm just like, I think I was just always paranoid that like I would put my project aside and the things would just like fall off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, these stitches are just going to come off the stick, where this, you know, you can just like pull them down and, you know, they get all like curled up inside of itself. And so I'm like, that just seems like much more logical and safe.
Huck, did you want to continue your introduction?
Oh no, I'm good. I think Kelly introduced me.
Kelly took care of it.
That's Huck over there, by the way.
Yeah. I'm good. Or I'll just be mysterious. You know, I'm also okay with being an enigma.
Yeah, you just show up and nobody explains your presence. You're like
exactly
from the woods, you know.
I need like a little like cape and a Zorro mask, and then I'll be like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So yes, Kelly and Huck are both linked in the description. You guys have probably seen one of these before. We're just gonna like hang out and chat and craft and maybe do like one reading sprint because that's kind of what we tend to do. And I'm Kara. My channel is obviously Wild Book Garden because that's where we are. And I am working on a very odd project. I told Kelly before we started, like, I always feel like I end up working on something during sprints that is like slightly odd. I don't know. I guess that's not true because sometimes I work on just like a scarf or a sweater. But what I'm making right now sort of looks like a very long sweater for a dachshund, but it's not.
It cracks me up. Whatever.
What is it?
So I'm making armrest covers for a chair that my dad has for his birthday, which is coming up, because I have told him previously, I'm like, if you want or need something that I can knit for you, let me know, because I've like made him hats and things before that he really likes, but I feel like he's set on hats now and I don't really know what else to like make him that he would like. And he said what he would really need or use is like covers for this one like armchair that he uses all the time. So I'm sort of like inventing a pattern just based on the measurements, and that's what I'm working on right now. So that's why it's got this like weird shape, because like the part of the armrest that connects to the chair, it has to like, you know, go, the sweater part has to go over it. So it looks funny now, but hopefully it's gonna come out good.
Hey, it'll be useful. Do you know what I think when you first showed it to me? What it looked like? It looked like a Thneed from the Lorax.
Oh yeah,
A Thneed, something everybody needs.
that's okay. Yeah,
Maybe you haven't read or seen the Lorax recently. I have 6 and 9 year olds.
I really am not familiar with the Lorax at all. So,
oh my gosh, you must you have to need a Thneed. Okay, let me show you.
he's gonna demonstrate.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get this picture to, like, I don't know if you can. There it is.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I'm making a Thneed.
There you go. And the Lorax is going to come and be mad at you.
Yeah. That's so funny. Like I have seen the Lorax, but it's been a long time. But you clearly just unearthed this like deep memory, because as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah. Thneed.
And I think sometimes they're coming orange. I'm trying to see. Oh, here's one that's in orange, so it would match yours, because this is from the newer movie of the Lorax.
Perfect.
Oh, okay.
See, I don't watch the newer one. I only have seen the like old, cartoon one.
Yes.
From like the 50s or whatever that was.
Isn't the newer one? This is the one fact that I know. Isn't there a character that's voiced by Zac Efron in the newer one? That's my one fact.
That is a fact. I've only seen it once, but I'm pretty sure that I knew that. The boy. I don't think he has a name, because like most of the characters like that don't have names.
Human child, yeah.
So he was
Huck's gonna find out for us, or Kelly is.
I'm looking it up. Lorax. Oh, and Taylor Swift was in it? Well, look at that.
As a character or like a song?
Says that she is Audrey. I don't know who that. I do not think that person was in the book.
Oh, I remember there was. Wait, was it that movie that they were in? There's some like interview that I always see clips of the two of them on Ellen playing a song together. Maybe that's because they were in that movie together. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a character that doesn't exist in the original. Because like when they make these new ones, they have to turn something that was like a half an hour movie originally and make it an hour and a half long. So they add characters in like backstory and all that stuff. And it's like, okay.
Right. Or they go like, well, we want Taylor Swift to be in it, so we have to make a character. Like,
right. It's like you can't just
they do stuff like that.
It's like you can't just be random extra number 4. Like,
yeah,
you need a name and a motivation.
All right. I'm trying to figure out like what my color palette is for the month. I haven't been doing like really complex color palettes. Usually I pick like 2 colors, but I just don't have like a feeling for this month, Usually I have more like a feeling of what color I want.
So you're not going to go with the obvious green of March?
No. I mean, I hadn't thought of that. was thinking of having maybe a couple of green accents, but my base color, I was thinking of doing more of like a orangey brown. And then I have two, hold on, I'm trying to figure out which green option, because I did want maybe some green highlights, but I'm trying to figure out which one looks better with the other colors that I picked. This one or that one? No, we're going to go more this way. Okay. Hold on. I just have like a piece of paper so I could show you swatches.
You need like a scrap paper, right, to practice your colors?
I was just doing this in the back of the book, so
No.
Okay. I was not that coordinated. But here we go. I have a notebook. Oh, these look very different though on this type of paper. Whatever. Apparently this paper is a lot more absorbent, so the colors look darker. All right, but this is my color palette.
Oh, that looks nice.
Ooh, yeah. Very like earthy and warm.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there are certain themes that I tend to go with like year to year, and usually in March, I don't really know why. I guess it doesn't really make sense, but in March I usually go for like a bee and honeycomb theme, even though bees aren't really out in March yet. So I'm not really sure why I associate bees with March, but
yeah.
Well, actually,
Speaking
my
of
husband just checked on his hive, and
you have bees?
yeah, he has bees.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
bees?
He has bees, and he said, yeah, because it got up to in the 50s yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and as soon as it hits about 50, the bees will start coming out.
All right, well then maybe there are bees.
So there are bees. So depending on, I mean, because you're in a place that probably is getting up to 50s occasionally, right? Maybe not.
Sometimes it like got warmer and then it suddenly got really cold and rainy again. Yeah, right now we're having like a high of 40 for the next week or so. So
well, they won't like stay out. Like if it goes like that, they'll go back in. But if there's a sunny day where it's like 50, they'll come out, check it out.
So if it gets cold again, they just like go back. They don't just die.
No, they go back in.
Okay, that's good.
But they're not like completely dormant because, you know, like in
Taking a
the
nap.
winter where they're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll like wake up and they'll be like kind of like checking it out whenever it's warm out and then going back in. So.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to know that they don't die.
Yeah.
No, they won't like, I mean, some might die because the life cycle of a bee is not.
No, yeah, but
They won't, like, the whole hive won't die. No.
Kelly getting into bee mortality here.
like Huck, they will eventually die.
Like, no, bees live forever. What are you talking about?
Everybody knows bees are immortal. I don't know how to explain this to you, Kelly.
Yeah, these are just facts.
Yeah, but he went to check because he wants to see if his hive survived. You know, because you don't know in the winter. Like there's no way to know if they make it until they come out in the spring.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's like some people that do like where they put the little like sound thing or the like the ultrasound there or whatever like that. But he's like, I'm not doing that. I'm just gonna see if they come out.
Yeah, immortal bees.
Exactly, immortal bees.
Kelly's immortal beehive.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, it would. I mean, we always like. I feel like I've been hearing about how much trouble bees are in for like my whole life. So if there could be some immortal bees, that might be awesome. Actually,
Manifest, will it into existence.
Yeah, because it's not good to go without bees. So
that's right.
It'd be nice if they could live a little longer.
Yeah. Oh, it does.
Oh yeah.
This is the fantasy we should read about or write about the immortal bees.
Yes.
I would love that. A collaborative project.
I have to find a pencil.
To start drafting Kelly's immortal beehive.
Mm-hmm. So that made me just think of like that that associated me with T. Kingfisher because she has a lot of times clockwork bees in her books, which are kind of like immortal bees because they're mechanical, right?
Yeah. That is very cool.
Okay, I'm back. Now I realized that I like remembered to bring all of my like many different markers and stickers and everything, and I forgot just a pencil so that I can outline things.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments, by the way, what you guys are doing or working on. Or if you're just hanging out, that's cool too. It was also funny, Huck, because like you said, like, oh wait, let me get a pencil, like immediately after we were talking about the Kelly's Immortal Beehive book. So it kind of sounded like you're like, I need to write this down. I need to start.
We're gonna like jot this down right now. We're instead of a crafting like live, this is going to be just like live writing a book together.
A new project. We're like,
yeah,
in real time writing a book.
Exactly.
I bet we can get that done in 2 hours, right? Just
whip that children's book? It's like a picture book, so there's only like 50 words in it. Sure,
we can do that.
That's right. We can.
Would it be good? I don't know, but we could do it.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something did I read? Either I read a book or watched a movie. I think it might have been a Hallmark movie where this woman was like a writer of children's books, and she was like way past her deadline, and then like it was a Hallmark movie, I think, because it was like she got inspired by the man, and then like was finally able to write it in like 2 days, and I'm like, you've been working on this for 2 years, and then you wrote this book in 2 days.
Yeah.
Like what?
You just needed the inspiration of a good man.
Yeah, I guess. I guess so. I'm like, what have you been doing for 2 years of your life?
So was it like a picture book?
Yeah.
Or was it?
Yeah, it was a picture book.
Okay, like theoretically, I guess if she already had like all the illustrations ready, but I have questions.
No, because she didn't. Because now I remember it's coming back to me because she wasn't the illustrator; she was just the writer of the words. And so, like, she had this deadline, and they kept pushing the deadline for her to write it. And then they hired her publisher, hired an illustrator, and were like, "Here's your illustrator." So then she's like, "Well, now I have to do it because they've hired this illustrator." And so then, through the inspiration of love, she finally writes it. And then they like actually show us the pictures, and I'm like, this is the guy that you were so excited at, like the illustrator that you were so excited about. These are horrible pictures.
Okay, why do they do that? Like, I feel like more movies and like books should do this too. It's like, I know that it's annoying if you're reading or watching something and they talk about this project the whole time and then that you never see it. Like, I know that's annoying, but like sometimes I think it's worse if you like do show the audience and it's like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, the number of books I've read where like one of the characters, everybody is like constantly talking about like, they're such a good writer, they're such a good poet, like they have such talent, and that's like the whole plot of the book, and they include like snippets of their writing, and I'm like, this should have just been up to our imagination. Like,
just let us picture it ourselves.
Don't give us examples.
It's always funny to me also though when authors do that, because they're like hyping up this character as being like this incredible writer or poet, and it's like you're hyping up yourself, because if you are writing the example, you are just being like, I'm so capable of writing this incredible thing that like it makes sense that this person who's like a prodigy writer or something wrote this. Like, I don't know. It just is funny to me that I'm like, at a certain point, you're just hyping yourself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a weird, like, literary humble brag. Like,
yeah.
Natalie has begun our picture book. Kelly's family had kept bees for generations, but the family had a secret. It was the same beehive passed down throughout the years, tucked away on their family farm among the flower garden, the vegetable patch, and the fields of hay was the immortal beehive.
I love this.
That is such a good opening, Natalie.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You should actually write this. I would read it.
We're all officially on board for the Immortal Beehive project.
That sounds adorable.
I know.
That would be fun. Yeah. Yeah, I was just like thinking though, when I was watching that Hallmark movie, I'm just like, Hallmark, I think you have enough budget to hire an actual illustrator that draws good pictures. Like,
Yeah.
like if you're gonna show them, I'm pretty sure you could hire somebody that could at least like.
Right.
It's not like they're showing the whole book of pictures; they're showing like maybe 3 pictures. So like, I think you can hire a good artist to draw 3 pictures.
Yeah, you could commission a really good artist for like just a few. I think that's doable.
Yeah.
Or if it's not, maybe you could make like 40 fewer movies in a year, and use some of that money.
I know. What they need to do is make 40 more movies so that they have more money to pay the illustrator.
That's probably what they think is happening.
Yes.
They do make more than 40 movies because I think they literally made 40 just for Christmas.
I know. Oh my God. It's like
it's ridiculous.
It really is. Like, I feel like we've gotten to a point where at least the ones that I like see advertised other places, it's like they're not even trying to do titles anymore. Like the titles are just like the plot of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So like the title is something like A Scottish Christmas Alone. And it's like somebody who goes to Scotland for Christmas by themselves and they find love. Or it's like, I'm trying to think of some of the other examples. It's like a Toy Story, like a toy shop love story. And it's like people who own toy shops falling in love. Like it's not even a title. It's just like the premise.
Well, you gotta do that so you know which movie it is because they've got so many of you.
You wouldn't want people to get confused.
You gotta know what you're going into. I want to know if it's a flower store love story, if it's a bookstore love story. If it's
why are so many people florists?
Okay, they're a florist, but they have like a penthouse apartment in New York City, and I'm like, ma'am, like I don't think so.
But the way it's decorated is very like bohemian, shabby chic. So you know that like they have a florist salary or something, and you're like, oh yeah,
just like us.
That your rent is probably like thousands of dollars each month.
Yeah, they actually this year did because they normally film in Canada,
right?
I think so, like most of them. But this year they did one that took place in Duluth, and so we watched it. Like our whole family watched it since we live in Duluth now. So we were like, okay, we all have to like like the kids, aunt and uncle, my sister and brother-in-law, and everybody were like, we're watching the Duluth one, and like obviously the way it always is, they only rent one place, so. Yes. Everything took place in this one part of Duluth with like 2 different establishments that, I'm assuming those are the ones they paid to let them film there. But I'm like, I know that place. I've eaten there.
That's so funny.
So, I mean, it was kind of fun to like, be like, this is where we live.
Yeah. The one, like, so I don't watch Hallmark super often. Like, I don't, like, obviously judge people who do, because there are other cheesy things that I do really enjoy. Their particular kind is just usually not my vibe. But there have been a few that are, like, genuinely really good. Like, I really liked the one, I think they just did it this last winter, that's, like, a Heidelberg holiday or something. And it's, like, it's set in like the German Christmas markets, and like it actually, like the acting, the production quality, the fact that I'm pretty sure they cast like actual Europeans instead of doing like horrible accents. Like there was a lot going for it. I ended up enjoying it, so I would recommend.
I do watch Christmas Hallmark movies, so I did see that one and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like,
yeah, I mean, I like that brand of cheesy at Christmas. I don't always like it year round, but at Christmas, I'm like, you're allowed to have very cheesiness at Christmas time. I feel like it's kind of part of the ambiance of the time.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because so me and Julia and one of our other friends, Mary Margaret, we did a buddy read of a Hallmark book, like one of their like Christmas books. And I did not have a good time with it, especially because it has one of my favorite tropes, which is like the time slip romance. And it was so dull and underutilized, I feel like. So I didn't like that. But it's funny because like almost immediately after that, without planning it like this, I read The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, which is like that. I feel like it's like almost a modern classic at this point, but I hadn't read it in a long time. And that's one where I'm like, I can get on board with this kind of like cheesiness or like oversweetness because like, I don't know, it just felt more genuine to me. And also it was really funny. So it kept it from feeling too sweet for me. But
I am weird though, because even though I will watch a million Hallmark movies at Christmas time, I'll be like every other day, let's watch some Hallmark Christmas. Like I watch a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I cannot read those books. Like I've tried to read the kind of more cheesy Christmas romances, and I just like in a book form, I hate it. And I don't know if it's because it takes longer to read a book, and so you're like, this is dragging out. Like I want 2 hours, or actually without commercials, I want an hour and a half of this cheesy love story, and that's it. That's all I want.
I think it's also like different mediums I think can carry off stuff better, because like I'm the same way. Like there are some things where I think as movies, also because you have like chemistry of the actors, so if they're doing a good job, I feel like I can overlook a lot of other things that I would complain about. But if you're reading that, you don't have that, like in the one that we read, it was like so cheesy to the point of like secondhand embarrassment for me, because there was this one scene that was like clearly supposed to be like charming and romantic, and I was just like laughing the whole time because the love interest, they like are hula hooping in the snow, and it's supposed to be like really romantic and beautiful, and I'm like, this is so dumb. Like I can't take this seriously. And whereas like in a movie, I think you could have that kind of like silly montage and it's like cute, you know? But in the book, I'm like, you're trying to make this a serious love story, and I can't take you seriously when you're hula hooping like in the snow. Like, and it was so weird the way they brought it up, because like all of a sudden, this had never come up before, but all of a sudden the female lead is like, yeah, I like won my county's hula hooping competition.
Is that a thing?
I don't know.
So, Huck, you said you haven't been reading much lately, but are you reading something now?
Technically, yes, but I literally have not read a book, like picked up a book in 2 weeks, probably at least. I have recently been rereading, actually The Queens of Innis Lear, which is one of my favorite books, and I have been really liking rereading it, but I have been very busy and I am not the kind of person who reads more when I am stressed. I'm like, if I am stressed, I can't focus on anything. And it's the type of book, like, for one thing, it is a book that you kind of have to like pay attention to. It's not one that you just like skim through. It's a little dense, and it's one of my favorites. And so I was like, I don't want to like just push through it, you know? So I kind of just put it down for a little while, come back to it at some point and finish my reread when I feel like I can fully enjoy it. But instead I have been rewatching Charmed recently.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been my big thing. So I think I'm on season 5 at this point, which like I don't know have you ever watched Charmed?
I think I saw a couple episodes, but it was not something I watched.
Okay, well, there's a whole storyline with a character named Cole who I just really don't care about this storyline, but it's like a major plot point for like 2 or 3 seasons. And so I kind of been like, am I watching this? Like, I've seen this show multiple times. Like, it's not one of the shows that it's not like a show that I've rewatched a ton of times, but I've rewatched it a couple of times. So I'm like, I know what happens. So but I keep watching it. Um, and
Just Cole can be background noise.
pretty much, yeah. At this point, I don't even watch it most of the time. I just listen to it while I'm doing other things because I'm like, I can hear them. They're killing demons and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm debating how long I'm gonna go on with the show or not. Because it kind of goes in some weird directions, as many shows who go on for too many years do.
Yeah.
It just does some weird stuff that I'm like, maybe I should just cut my losses at some point. So I've been watching that, and then I also was rewatching Millionaire Matchmaker, which, like, I usually do not watch reality TV. That's not really my thing. But when I was in, I don't know if it was middle school or high school, for some reason I watched Millionaire Matchmaker. And so now they just recently put it on Netflix. And so it's like very nostalgic. So I'm season 3 and 4 for some reason, which is weird. But yeah, so I'm watching it just for nostalgia. Although there are definitely things in it that I'm like, oh my God, this like show would not air at this point in time. It is very much of its moment, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah. What have you guys been reading?
Kelly, do you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Well, I've been reading. I picked up my first like middle grade March book. I'm 50 pages in, so I feel pretty like into it. Which, Carrie, you've read this, right?
Yeah, I really liked it.
I'm enjoying it. I'm liking the pictures. I don't know.
The pictures are so beautiful. Like, I know that elevated my experience because I just thought they were like perfect atmosphere, you know?
Yeah, I just like show in case anybody else out there. I just love reading a book with pictures. And that's why part of the reason why I love reading middle grade, because I'm like, kids actually get pictures. I wish more adults.
Yeah.
Give me some.
Why do they think adults don't like pictures?
I'm like, I want pictures. I love them. But yeah, I'm reading that one physically, and then I'm listening to an adult book, which I don't have up here. I'm listening to Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes.
Yes. Is that a Medusa retelling?
Yes.
I feel like I heard about that one.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I'm like a third of the way into it. I do like the way I think the only other thing I read by her was one of her like nonfiction essays, like Greek essays.
Yes.
And I think, did you guys read that one? The one Pandora's Jar?
I did read that one and I loved it. And I am really excited to read some of her fiction because I feel like I'm going to like the perspective she has. So
yeah,
I'm excited to hear how you like it.
I think she does feminist rage through the lens of Greek retellings really well.
Yeah. Because, and honestly, like, that is a very, I feel like, crowded subgenre at the moment, but I feel like some of the authors I've read, like whoever wrote Silence of the Girls, Pat Barker, I think, I hated the way she did it. So, like, it's really exciting to me when I find an author, like, not I shouldn't like talk about it as if it's very rare for them to do it well, because it's not, but I feel like a couple of the really well-known ones that I had tried I really didn't like, and I'm like, oh no, is this just not like a kind of story that I like as much as I think I will? But it's not true, because I love Natalie Haynes. I have only read one book by Jennifer Saint, but I loved that. So
yeah, I like this one is because I had just read in January the Penelope ad by Margaret Atwood, and it feels very similar. And I kind of wonder if Margaret Atwood in that story might have been a little bit of inspiration for her, because like she would have been kind of next generation, like
yeah,
Margaret Atwood, and like, but it had the similar thing where it's really like just like showing these, the way they show the heroes, and like, are they actually heroes? And like, and the like Medusa is very sympathetic in this, and like, yeah. So I'm enjoying it, but it also is interesting because it's not just Medusa. Like, she goes into like a lot of different stuff to like give framework to the Medusa story. So it's because I was kind of wondering, I was like, there's not much to the Medusa story. So like, are we just gonna have a lot of filler of like just following Medusa growing up and all that? But no, it's like, I think there's a lot other like she's going in through different stuff with the gods and other people that are involved in different aspects, like Perseus's family and all that,
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it, and I like her as a audiobook narrator. I mean, she's a professor, so she's got like a good.
Oh, does the author narrate it?
Yeah, so the author narrates it, and she's got her like, I don't know. I feel like she is a good narrator, probably because she gives lectures and is probably a dynamic professor.
Yeah. I am currently reading multiple things, of course, but the ones that I am more like actively reading, I also have been doing more audiobooks recently because I've been doing a lot of like crafting and kind of organizing stuff and stuff where I like having something to like focus my attention on. So I'm listening to How to Do Nothing, Resisting the Attention Economy by Jenny Odell.
I wanted to read that.
Yeah, I like am really liking it overall. I think there's a lot of good stuff there. I think that like a lot of nonfiction books in that sort of like subgenre, I think some of it is going to depend on how much you connect with her specific examples, which for the most part, I like the examples she uses. And even if like I don't necessarily have the exact same response to like what she's talking about, I think that like I can see where she's going with it. So there's been a few times where I'm like, I see what you're trying to say, but like I don't I don't know. I don't like the primary source sort of that you're using. But for the most part, I am liking that one. And then the other audiobook I'm doing is Dr. Thorne by Anthony Trollope, which is our classic for the month. I'm actually really close. I'm like 92% done with this 20-hour audiobook.
Whoa.
It's so, like Julia and I were talking about it because we were sort of at the same part of the book, so we were like talking about like how it was going and what we thought. It is so long for no reason. I'm at 92%, and we have just gotten to the thing that the book makes it sound like is the main plot.
Oh, wow.
And I would like to fight whoever wrote this synopsis because this is like so misleading. So I'm not having like the best time with that one, but I'm almost done, which is a relief.
That is always really annoying when that happens. That happened to me actually with one of the Robin Hobb books where like, which one was it? Was it The Golden Fool or something? The synopsis of the book, one of them is like, and then they go hunt a dragon. At no point in the book do they hunt a dragon. They are just like talking about a whole bunch of stuff happens. And then they go, oh, we should go like find this dragon. And then they're prepping to go find the dragon. They don't even, I don't think they even leave. Maybe they leave in like at the very, very end. I just was like, I think that one, it was one of those times where I'm like, it's not that I didn't like the book. It's just I was mentally prepared for a very different story.
Yeah. Like why do publishing teams do that? Because like, yeah, maybe you'll get some people reading it who wouldn't have, but they're not going to be people who are like prepared to enjoy what the story actually is. Like, that's so annoying.
Yeah.
Also, so the other thing with Dr. Thorne is like, I feel like there's not, like, considering how much interpersonal drama there is, for one thing, it's not always super interesting drama. And also, like, we are just getting the most minute details about things that I'm like, we didn't need this. Like, you could have done this backstory on, like, why this family needs money and why this character has to marry very well. You could have done that in, like, one chapter, maybe two. But we spent, like, 100 pages on it. And I'm like, we didn't have to start with this character's grandfather to know why they need money. Like, it's just so tiring to read. And then also, like, being a long book wouldn't necessarily make it boring if I really liked a lot of the characters, but I don't. And like, one of the characters, like the main guy, sort of the main guy, who is like the love interest and we're supposed to care about, he's like, sometimes he's just nothing, and then sometimes he's really pissing me off. And like, at one point, Huck, I might have mentioned this to you before, when we were talking about what we were reading, but it's like, at one point, one of his sisters is like jilted by her fiance, which is like messed up, and I obviously don't think it's okay what he did. But what Frank, this character, does, he decides that he and a friend of his are gonna like basically trap this guy outside his club, and Frank like whips him. Like, he beats him so badly that his friend has to like pull him off the guy and be like, all right, that's enough, we're done. And that the police who eventually show up tell Frank, like, don't leave the area until we know if he's gonna live or die, because we might have to prosecute you. And I'm like, why are we supposed to like Frank? Like, what? Like, what? Like, he straight up almost murders a guy in a fit of rage. And we're supposed to be like, oh yeah, he's a great boyfriend. Like, I definitely want to see him, get the girl.
Like, right.
Really strange.
Realized I also need an eraser. Hold
on. That whole like giving away thing, I just had that happen with A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher.
Oh, yeah.
The synopsis has something happen, because sometimes I don't always, if especially it's an author that I know I'm going to read it anyways, I don't always read the synopsis. But I'm also one of those weird people that I might get halfway through the book and I'm like, I'm going to read the synopsis now.
Yeah, I do that.
I do that too, where I'm like, wait, what is this book about? Like, I'm reading it and I'm like, I don't understand where this is going. Let me read the synopsis.
And I did that with The House of Good Bones. I got halfway through and I read the synopsis and I'm like, I am 50% through the book, and the thing that you say is the inciting incident has not happened yet. And I'm like, well, now I'm spoiled and I'm already halfway through the book and you're spoiled something that hasn't happened. Because I feel like anything in the synopsis should happen in the first, third, fourth, maybe, of the book. Like, it should not be over 50% of the way through the book. Like,
because I feel like unless like everything else about a story is working for you perfectly, I feel like it is almost impossible for a book to feel engaging when like when you're spoiled for what's going to happen near the end, like, I mean, even if you're somebody who like doesn't care so much about plot spoilers, like, it's gonna make the book drag because you're waiting for it to get somewhere that it told you it was going to be already, like, it just doesn't. I don't know why so many editors or publishers do that, and it's so irritating. I know with like Dr. Thorne, like with classics, I'm sure that's even more of a problem. It's because obviously like the original author is long gone, so of course they're not going to be involved in like the synopsis. But why? Like, whoever was working on this edition, why? Also, they make it sound like this is going to be a book about like class and money, and like sort of in terms of the plot, because like what I thought the premise of the book was, which I thought sounded really interesting, is that Dr. Thorne, who's like sort of the central character, I guess, his niece is in love with Frank, who almost murdered a man. The two of them are in love, and Frank is expected to marry very, very well because his family's broke. Like, they're high class, but they have no money. And Mary also doesn't really have any money, so she's considered an unsuitable match for him. And the way that the book is described, like the plot, is that Dr. Thorne finds out that Mary's going to inherit a ton of money. And so he has to decide if he's going to say something and if he should tell them before, or like, you know, wait and see, or like basically how he's going to handle that. Because also, like, if Frank only ends up marrying her because he knows that he won't have to sacrifice anything, you know, maybe that's not actually a good way to enter the relationship. So I thought that sounded really interesting. But like, that's not really the main point of the book. Like, we are just now at the part where Mary is inheriting everything. And I'm like, why would you talk about this? Like, it's the main point. Like, also, I don't know that this book is actually trying to critique classism as much as it thinks it is, because it just, there's like so many weird things about like how certain characters are written. Like, there's a couple that it's like the author clearly wants us to view them as like very coarse and vulgar, and like maybe we're supposed to find them likable, but we're definitely not supposed to think of them as being like as good as other people. And not only are those characters like some of the only likable ones in the book, but I'm like, how does this line up with supposedly this book being a critique of classism and like, you know, marrying for financial reasons only and all of that, like, and snobbery. It's supposed to be like criticizing the snobbery of these families, where it's like they only care about like noble birth until they desperately need money, and then if you also have a ton of money, they are willing to overlook you not being good enough for them.
It sounds like you have some feelings, Kara.
I do. I'm the host for this one, so I am very excited to come up with my discussion questions.
Discussion questions are like, did you also find this person infuriating and terrible?
Exactly.
That's the discussion question.
Yeah. It's like, Frank is the worst. Let's discuss.
Right. Agree or disagree?
In what ways do you think Frank is horrible? Let's see. Let's talk about
Exactly. It's not, is he horrible? It's like, we all already know this. Now we just discuss in what ways.
Let's get into specifics of, yeah. And another thing he does really is irritating, which he does this earlier on in the book. And when I thought that he would get better, I was like, yes, this is obnoxious, but you're very young and I can understand that you would grow out of this. But like, one of the other things he does that like pisses me off is he is being like pushed at this one wealthy heiress who, again, everybody looks down on her birth because her family actually like makes their own money. She's in trade. But she's like obscenely rich, like 200,000 pounds kind of rich. And so like all the like snobby people can overlook her low birth because she's like so wealthy. And so they're pushing Frank at her. And at this point, Frank is already like in love with Mary. He's like sort of declared himself, but she doesn't take him seriously. But he like is in love with Mary. So he has no interest in marrying this other woman. And he gets brought to this house party, which with the express purpose of getting her to fall in love with him so he can marry wealthy. And again, he doesn't care about that until he is like spending a lot of time with this young woman, and they're talking, and they're kind of like friends at this point. Because Miss Dunstable, the heiress, who I really like, she's like my favorite character probably, because she knows exactly why everybody is interested in her. Like, she's not fooled by any of it. And her and Frank are spending like a lot of time together, and Frank doesn't care about her at all until he realizes that she also has no interest in him. And he's like, well, now I feel like I have to make her fall in love with me to make myself feel better. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you like this, Frank? Like, it's so, he's just the worst. Like,
sounds like it.
I am smudging everything as I'm working on that.
Maybe you can make it artistic smudging.
I think it just looks bad, but that's okay.
Right.
Natalie says, I'm still reading Great Expectations, by the way. It's been like 3 months, lol. I have finished other books in between, thankfully. I was enjoying it. It got really good in the last 50 pages. I was sort of prepared to hate on Charles Dickens, but I begrudgingly respect him and like his writing. That's like very similar to my experience with him so far, because I've read 4 books by him, 2 of which I really didn't like, and 2 that I love, which are Christmas Carol and I just like forgot the name, Tale of Two Cities. I was like the really famous one with the French Revolution. I loved both of those, and I really didn't like the other 2 I read. So I'm like, how? What do I feel about you, Charles? Like, and also as a person, he seems like he was kind of trash in terms of his personal life, like so many classic male authors were. But also, his ideas I think are really good. Like, I really appreciate the way that he writes about like the like poverty of the working class and like the exploitation of capitalism and like all this stuff. So I'm with you, Natalie. I have very conflicting feelings about Charles Dickens, but begrudging respect is a good way to describe it.
Sorry, my husband's texting me, so I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
We're trying to decide if we need to buy tickets ahead of time for a show tonight. It's an aerial arts show.
Ooh.
And we thought that might be fun for us the kids to see. I've never seen an aerial art show.
Yeah. I think I've seen like
what is that?
Parts of that. It's like with the dancing when they're like hanging from the ceiling and they're like twirling. Yeah.
Like this. You know what I mean? Like what like there's the fabric hanging down and they're like wrapping around their bodies.
Yeah. Okay, like the aerial silks and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I used to know somebody who like knew how to do that, which was always wild to me.
Yeah, there's like a studio here that does it, and so I think it's actually them. I think it's the studio, like, kind of doing their, almost like their recital. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really cool. Natalie, I think, yeah, he seemed like a truly shitty guy, but damn it, he had a window into the human spirit. I would love to see like classics marketed in that way. Like instead of the synopsis that spoils 80% of the book, just have like testimonials from people who begrudgingly enjoyed it. Like I feel like that would be a much more interesting and useful way to decide which classics you're interested in.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting way too focused on like doing this and I'm not saying anything. Like I'm listening, but I'm not like, saying anything. Getting like, and yet I'm still smudging everything, so I'm not doing a great job.
You have to concentrate on the smudging.
Exactly. Right.
I actually was just thinking that I should stop to grab lunch real quick. So do we want to maybe do an official sprint?
Oh yeah, I can make some more.
We like to throw in one of those just to keep people on their toes. So what do you guys think? To like the half hour? Do we want to do like to the 40-minute mark? What do you think?
Doesn't matter to me.
I think I think maybe to the half hour would be good.
Okie doke. So we are gonna do an actual like muted sprint until the half hour, and then we will be back for more crafting and chatting.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I am back just in time. How was our official sprint for everybody?
Good. I'm struggling.
Oh,
But
I did not do anything crafty. I pre-ordered some books.
that is also related to an interest of yours, so I think that fully counts.
Yeah.
I basically just ate lunch. during
Well, that's
sprint, so
Good use of
also
time.
important.
I made tea, so
I love that mug. That is so cute.
thank you. Yeah, it's from Anthropology.
I think you've told me before about
Yeah, we
one
may have talked about this before.
No, like it might have been. Do you have more than one mug from there?
I do. I have like 3 different designs. So this is the pink one has like a squirrel on one side and like little mushrooms on the other. There is a kind of like a teal-ish, like a light teal one that has there's like some bird on one side and a woodpecker on the other side. And then there's a yellow version that has owls, like 2 different kinds of owls on each side. So I think they actually have more colors and patterns now, but when I bought these, those were the 3 available.
Very cool. Natalie had a door-to-door salesman come to the house. That's a rarity nowadays. LOL.
Yeah.
It was a very friendly kid who I feel like was 20 years old. Usually before COVID, the only people who came to the door were LDS missionaries and local Jehovah's Witnesses. Yep.
Yeah.
I keep putting down the ruler I'm using somewhere and not thinking about the fact that because it's clear, it's hard to keep track of.
Oh, that's like I'm probably gonna have to go find my ruler at some point too.
I also feel like every time we do a crafting sprint, I can't find my measuring tape. And again, I don't know where my measuring tape is. I think part of the problem is that I keep it in the project bag that I'm like currently working on. And that works great for that project, but anything else, not ideal.
Yeah, if you're working on more than one project, yeah.
I would see the Mormon kids roaming the neighborhood, and when they came to the door, they wanted to tell me about the Book of Mormon, but I was just like, how are you liking California? I feel like this doesn't always work, but pretty frequently, the only thing that I have to do is just be honestly like, I'm Catholic. And they're like, oh. And then
that's what I do is people, they come up to me and go like, I'm Jewish. And they go like, a lot of times then they keep wanting to keep, it's actually just happened to me the other day where they were like, that's so great. Like, having a relationship with God is so important. And they just wanted to like talk to me about, and I was just like, no, I wanted to like, you're very nice, but I wanted to end this conversation.
They're actually like supportive and interested, and you're like, wait, I
don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, that's my go-to to just be like, I am not a wayward soul. I'm
good.
I've got okay.
Yeah, it's like I'm not your target demographic.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, my mom used to do when people would come to the door. I don't know if it was Mormons or other, like if somebody like came to the door to like tell her about their religion or something, and she would be like, oh, we're Jewish. And then if they kept bothering her and kept pushing, and she would go like, my people have a covenant with God. Do you think that God goes back on his promises because he got a better deal? And then they'd be like, never mind.
I kind of love that.
Yeah. I mean, like, what a top tier card to play. Like,
Yeah. I thought that was so funny.
are you asking God to break a promise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's so funny.
It's like, listen, if you're persistent, you have to be prepared for the consequences.
Yeah. All right. I have completed pre-ordering books that I probably won't read at this point because I'm not reading anything.
But you'll have them for when you're ready.
Yeah, someday. Or I'll just stare at them and be like, I'm sure these are really good.
Yes.
In my mind, they're really good.
Yes. One of my stitch markers just came off. Why did you do that? That's the exact opposite of your job.
You had one job.
Why have you betrayed me? I think that was the right spot. I mean, it's not crucial for this one. I just like having one for the start of the round so that I can keep track of when I'm like evenly completing a round.
I'm having trouble because I'm just trying to make a sample so to see if I have the right gauge. And I'm going to give up, I think, because only doing 8 stitches on the circular needle I was going to be doing a Afghan on is driving me nuts. Because I've got all this extra. Where it wouldn't get tangled up if I had like 100 stitches on it. It would be.
Oh, you're knitting the sample to check like.
Yeah, because I was gonna check, are these the right needles?
You're actually doing like a gauge?
Yeah, and I'm like, screw it.
Good.
I don't care if it's the right gauge. I don't care.
Also, I will say, which is like not probably what the official knitting advice is, but if it's like for a blanket or something, it really doesn't matter.
I
Like-
was like,
I think you'll be fine.
I'm gonna be fine. I'm not gonna do it because it's just too frustrating. Because like obviously, if they were smaller needles, it would be fine. But it's like getting tangled and all this stuff. Like with only 8 stitches to make a sample, and I'm like, no,
Yep.
not gonna happen. We're gonna just go with it, and just if my blanket is 10 inches shorter than hers, I don't care.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
No, as long it'll still be cozy, so it's fine.
That's right. That's the most important part. I'm pretty sure in one of our earliest craft sprints, we covered this, like the no gauge swatches. We die like men. Like,
yeah. Well, I know you were talking about that, but I wasn't a knitter at that point, so I was like, well, maybe I should be doing this. And but now I'm like, no, I'm just gonna be rogue.
Yeah,
fine.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's the real like knitter crocheter vibe is we die like men.
Yeah.
I try to think of like a more, I don't know, gender neutral way to say it, but I think part of why it's funny is because it's so like ridiculously masculine sounding,
Yeah.
Plus like gauge swatch.
Mm-hmm.
But I am taking suggestions if anyone has any. I would 100% wear it on a t-shirt.
You can always say we die as warriors or something like
That's
that.
right.
But...
There you go.
We die with our blades in our hand.
Right. Knitting needles in hand.
Yeah. I was also having trouble because it took me forever to find the end of the yarn. I finally dug out the one on the inside. I still have yet to find where the outside one is. I have no idea where the other end of that yarn is. Because like that should be the easy one that just kind of falls off when you take the end off. And I'm like, where is it? Where are you?
What do you want from me?
And usually like when it's inside, you're able to just like tug it and it comes out. Like this, I had to tug out like probably 2 feet of yarn before the inside tail came out. And I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? Is this supposed to be like a hide and seek for the end of the yarn? Like what?
This is supposed to be the easy part.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't even start if I can't find the end.
Okay. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to figure out what is my TBR for the month. Whether I read it or not, which is probably gonna be not, but still.
Nice to know.
It's just decorative, right? You'd be like, oh, look at these things I could read.
Right. Look what I thought I was going to read this month. How nice.
Well, I have significantly reduced the number of books that I like put on my TBR. I only have 4 spots now. So
look at you being realistic. I have like, other than Short Stack Readathon, I have read maybe 5 books a month for the last like 8 months. And I put how many on my March TBR? 20.
Oh my God.
It might have been even more than that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm totally going to read this many books as I've only read
that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I also have like my TBR that on my notes app, I have like a note for every month of the year where I like keep track of what I'm reading. And honestly, I have way too many places where I keep track of what I'm reading. I probably have told you about this before. It's like, it's way too much. It's inefficient, but it is more so because it entertains me. But I have like a long running list that is in the notes app of like what my TBR is. But what I put in here are the things that I'm like, all right, I need to whittle this down. Like, what are the top priorities?
Feasibly, what could I read?
Right.
Like, what am I actually going to read, do you think?
Yeah.
I need to grab another project because I think I need to stop on this one until I can get more measurements. So I will be right back.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, so Huck.
Yes.
I did not read Unraveler.
Okay.
But don't feel bad because I read Emperor Mage because of you.
Oh yeah. And
I loved it when I finally got to. I don't know what it is about the Immortals Quartet. Every single one of those books I have started, made about like partway through, stopped because of the pacing and got bored, and then like waited 6 months and came back and then just read the whole thing through. So it's happened with every single book. And so I had started Emperor Mage like last year, got halfway through, and I was kind of like, the pacing was just like I wasn't loving, I wasn't invested.
The pacing in that series in particular is not great. Like, I love the series, but like the pacing is not its forte. For sure.
And so like I don't know, I had put it down, I didn't pick it back up, and then you talked about it in your favorites, so I was like, okay, I gotta get back to it. I picked it up and read the whole thing, in less than a week or whatever. Mm-hmm. And really ended up enjoying it. I'm like, what is going on with this?
So now you have to just like, what you do is if you're like, okay, so in like 2 months, I want to read the final book. I have to start it now so I can put it down for a while and then pick it back up later.
I guess so. I don't know. Well, maybe because it's the last one, maybe it'll be more pull me from the beginning. I think part of the problem is the chapters are way too long, and all of she loves the long chapter, and so it's like 30-page chapter, and so then I don't get invested at the very beginning because I'm like, oh my gosh, this chapter is so long. So I just need to do it because I would like to finish that series.
Yeah, I'm glad that you liked it. That's great.
Yeah. So I felt bad because I didn't read the one that I put in my TBR from you.
Feel bad.
But I did read one of your favorites. Yeah. Basically, right after you did that video, I picked it up like the next day and was like,
I feel so influential.
This is like when you read Unraveler, Huck, and I was like, I have achieved one of my purposes here on BookTube.
Right. Get somebody to read.
I still want to read Unraveler. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
Because I need to read it physically, I think, during the day, because I was picking it as my bedtime book, and that was a mistake because her world building is so like rich that doing it before bed was not the time to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Because I just could not concentrate on that when I was like kind of on the like getting ready to fall asleep kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also so behind on watching BookTube. So Kelly, I feel like I have not been up on your latest videos.
Well, you're not missing much since I think that I've been averaging 1 to 2 videos a month for the last. I have not been reading, or
you're doing better than I am.
But I still have a backlog of yours, Huck. I have ones to watch, but because I'm also not watching as much YouTube. I don't know what I'm doing with my time, but it's obviously not reading, filming, or watching YouTube.
You're like, what am I doing?
Things to do. You have a real life.
I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, I'm behind on probably both of your videos as well. Just on everybody's. Just I've got like the watch later. I've got like all these things that I will eventually get to.
Yeah, I go through phases too, where it's like I'll be really behind, and then I get stressed about it, and then I like start catching up, and everything's good, and then I get behind again, and I just like have accepted that that's like the pattern for my BookTube watching, and it doesn't stress me out too much anymore, which is good.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is just how it is.
Well, it's supposed to be entertainment, so I feel like you should never stress out. And if you put a comment on my video 6 months after it was on, I'm still going to be just as happy that you watched it than if you watched it the day it came out.
Yeah.
That's how I am too. Like especially because like I do the same thing where I just end up getting behind, so I know that happens. But I think even if I wasn't, I'm like, that's just cool that you watched it and that you like said something about it. So
yeah, because I mean, really, our stuff is not like it's time serious or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I sometimes like if a video was posted a while ago, I don't respond to new comments because I don't remember what I said in the video. And so then I'm like, I don't really know how to continue. Like, I don't know what to say back because I'm just like, I honestly don't remember what I said. So like, if you're referencing something that I said, I can't like, I don't know.
Yeah. Or it's like, it'll
My
be
memory is obviously very bad.
You what?
My memory is obviously very bad, except for like very specific things I remember. But like, in general, I forget things so easily.
Well, especially though, like if it's been a little while since you read it, and sometimes someone will leave a comment like asking about a detail of the book or like what I thought about it, and I'm like, I really like I don't even know what you're talking about. Like it's been like 2 years. Who even knows what happened in this book? Like,
yeah. All right. Let's see. There are some decisions to be made about what is my TBR for the month. I know I have to put The Queens of Innis Lear on here because I'm technically reading it and I do want to finish it. So that's on there. What else? I don't know what I'm in the mood to read. This will just turn into my TBR video for the month. So here you go.
Right.
You get to know.
Watch Huck decide her TBR live.
Right, exactly. Because I do not make TBRs like videos, usually because I know I don't follow them. Even if I make a short TBR and then I read way more books that are on that TBR, the books I read are not the ones that I said I was going to. I never actually follow it.
So, but do you follow the ones that are in your book journal then, or not?
Sometimes.
Just write random for random.
Yeah, it's real hit or miss. Let's see. In January, of the 4 that I wrote down, I read 2 of them. And then in February, of the 4, I read 1. But I also only read 1 book in February. So
that's 100% success rate.
Yeah, like, yeah, good bang for my buck in that way. But like,
yeah, I'm pretty much the same. Like I make TBRs and then I'm like, I just feel like reading this book. It's nowhere near on my TBR, but I'm going to read it. And I don't care. I just do it. I'm just like, whatever. It's the mood reading. Except for I feel bad because the thing I did that with, because in February my plan was to read people's favorites, and it was going well. I was enjoying a lot of people's favorites, and then I randomly just like got a hold in on an audiobook that wasn't on the TBR, and I read it, and then it was like my least favorite thing of the month. And I'm like, oh, see what happens when I don't read what I'm going to say I read. I'm going to dislike this book.
I should have trusted the plan.
Should have trusted the plan.
Yeah. And I've just decided that maybe I am just a curmudgeon when it comes to like contemporary romance. Like I can get totally invested in a fantasy romance. I can handle angst. I can do all that stuff in a fantasy setting, but put it in contemporary and I just want to like slap people across the face.
Yeah.
And just be, will you just talk to your partner?
But I think that makes sense because, like, with contemporaries, like, even though, yes, it is fiction and it's not always going to be realistic, the setting is so much more similar to what our real world is. Like, I have the same problem, especially when it's, like, with male love interests being kind of, like, bossy and like even if it just barely is like a tiny bit like controlling or something, I was like dump him because it's like hard for me not to think of that as like in the real world. If a woman I knew was seeing a man who told her not to wear this thing, I'd be like out. Like get rid of him. This is a red flag.
Yeah. But like in a fantasy setting, I could be like, well, I see why you're not gonna like tell him this thing because someone's gonna kill you. Or that would give away your magic and you're not allowed to be a magician, or like
yes, exactly.
It makes sense to me. But like I was so like the romance I was reading, she was being like he was being completely obvious that he liked her, like cards on the table all the time, like say the way he said things, the way he did things, everything. And she's still like, does he really mean that, or is he just trying to like play me and blah, blah, blah. Like he has never done one thing that has made it seem like he is playing you, and yet you're like spending the whole time being like, oh, I can't let him in because this isn't real, or whatever this, or I have to take care of my family, I can't have a relationship. I'm like, get over yourself, girl. And like, it's obvious he likes you, one. And if you don't want to date him, then just say that and go away, or just realize that maybe your family will be okay if you like also date somebody. Like, ugh. I just want to like slap people across the face. And so I don't know. Maybe I just need to like not read contemporary romance anymore because I just want everyone makes me angry.
Yeah. Well, and I also like I especially hate that in so many of them it's like a workplace rival situation, because almost all of the ones I've read that involve that, it's not just like we work at the same place and we like clash or we disagree. It's like they are like sabotaging each other, and I'm like, that is not something that I find cute or romantic or I can like move past.
Yeah.
It's like in this economy, you are like ruining somebody's
economy.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin my livelihood right now.
And I just cannot turn off the part of my brain that's like, you could be fired for this. I don't care how cute he is. Like, it's just
Yeah. It is not. Yeah, I can't handle, I think, a lot of that stuff. Or I'm trying. I was like on a call, like a Zoom call with a bunch of book people recently, and like all of them loved Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. And I was literally the only one that was like, I did not like that book. And everybody's like, what? And I'm like, she is downright mean to him and nasty and like does things that I'm like, that is not okay. And you could still be friends, but I do not believe that you should be in a relationship with the way she treated him.
Yeah.
And nobody else agreed. And I was like, you did read the same book as me, right? Like, this is not okay to treat somebody like this. Like,
I only know about that one what you've told me, and but still, every time I see somebody gush about that book, I'm like, that one? Really?
Judgy face.
Maybe I'm way off. Like I said, maybe I'm this curmudgeon, but like the example is that like, so these guys they're not like officially dating. They're kind of like dating without strings attached, kind of on the down low. But like, she's from the big city, he's from a small town. So she hasn't told any of her friends that she's dating this guy or in a relationship with this guy, because it's all supposed to be just kind of like no strings attached, whatever. Her friends show up at like his bed and breakfast or whatever and treat him like a servant, and also like ogle him at the same time, like treat him both like, you know, lower than, and like, you know how in those movies where the rich person's like ogling all over the busboy, but like also treats them like the busboy, you know?
Yeah.
That's how her friends are treating, and she does not stand up for him or say anything. And I'm like, done. Like,
and that doesn't become like a lesson learning moment, you know?
No. Like, I don't feel like she ever really apologizes for that.
Yeah.
Like, ever. Like, he just kind of forgives it and moves on, but like, she never really apologizes, or like, you know, she uses excuses, but she does not actually apologize, in my opinion. Like, and I'm just like, no, that's not okay. Like, even if you weren't in a relationship, you don't like first of all, you shouldn't even treat a person like that is like in customer service. And then if you're going to like be dating that person, you especially do not just let your friends treat them like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it was like, so I'm just like, what? Why do you want them to be together when he can do better?
He can do better. Yep. It's like, the thing with contemporaries is like, there's such a high chance of you as a reader coming across a real life deal breaker, and I just don't think you have as much distance as you do with like historical fiction or like fantasy or something. It's like like you were saying earlier, Kelly, it's like you can make the stakes so different in fantasy, where it's like, okay, yes, this person has been lying to you the whole time, but they could be killed for having magic. So like, I understand. Whereas like in a contemporary, I feel like there are so few circumstances where these kinds of things would be acceptable. So it makes sense to me that would be harder to enjoy, because like I have that happen too. It's like I can be much more forgiving of much worse things in like a fantasy or even like a historical setting, because it can be like so different from our current day. It's like, if it's a well done character arc, I don't want to say I can like forgive a lot, like it's fine, but you know, I can move past a character doing some pretty bad things. But if it's a contemporary, like there's no way for me to read it and not think about like, this is a person, if I knew this was happening in real life, like what would I feel, how would I handle it, like especially if it's in a romantic situation, because I just can't separate knowing what we know about things like domestic violence and like abusive boyfriends and all of that. It's like, yeah, in the context of this like cute little romance, him saying, don't wear that dress, I don't want another man looking at you, is supposed to be hot, but I still hate it because like, it's indicative of other issues.
It's a red flag. Yeah.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. Well, that's like the same thing when like people talk about like, because there's been a lot of like Raylo, like fan fiction that has become real books.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I do not understand the Raylo thing, because I'm like, once somebody has tortured another person, I do not think you could be in a relationship then. Is my, like, I can't support that relationship.
That's my personal opinion. Once you've tortured them.
Yeah. I mean, like, I understand redemption arcs, and I can see like them working together and like, you know, forgiveness on that level. But I'm like, you can't go from like, I am physically torturing you to now we are in love. Like, that doesn't work for me.
I think I can find it more convincing with like the fanon interpretation almost. But like, yeah, from the movies themselves, I'm like, for me, I could maybe get on board if you had like an entire movie series dedicated to like this character arc and like the relationship development. And because like there have been a few cases where like one of the characters has done something that bad, and I have been convinced that they have like truly grown from that and that like I can understand the relationship. Like there have been a handful of times that has happened, but like you need to put in so much time
Mhm.
to doing that. And you have to be like so careful with it. Like, yeah, it's not something that you can just be like, they've got great chemistry. Like,
no.
Natalie said, especially because a contemporary genre romance has to have a happily ever after or happy for now. So it's putting a fantasy ending, the HEA, in a real life world. Yeah, I think that's very well said. I think that's a good point. It's like, by definition, a contemporary romance has in some ways a non-realistic element, but in a very realistic setting. And so that's going to feel jarring sometimes, or a lot of the times.
Yeah. Where in real life, sometimes you were like, this isn't working out and we're moving on. And like, it seems to me some of those, I'm like, this should have been that story instead of this is the person you end up with. Like,
yeah.
Which is,
or it sucks when like you're reading one and there's like the character that is clearly the not gonna get the girl character, and it's like, well, I like you, so this just sucks for me then. Like,
at least he respects the girl.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's also why I like fantasy, because romance more, because like think about Tamara Pierce and like the Song of the Lioness, like you can have the more than one relationship. And so like I don't want to give any spoilers, but like if a person could have multiple, not, you don't necessarily know who is end game. Like there can be like different relationships and growth over a book series, as opposed to we have one book and this is the person you are going to end up with forever.
And like, I don't like, personally, I don't mind when I read a book or a series and it's the romances between characters who it's like, oh, this is the first person they've been serious about. Like, I don't mind that if you convince me that it works, but yeah, it's like if you try and say that this is like the love of their life and I'm just not buying it, then I'm probably going to be sitting there like, have you met anyone else though? Like,
yeah, I mean, like there might be
other people. Have you met anyone else in the world?
Yeah,
outside.
Like maybe this isn't the person you want to put all your eggs in this basket right now.
Yeah. I read the If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This was like a little while ago, but I read it's in the Meant to Be series, so they're like contemporary romance versions of like Disney stories. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked a lot of things about it, actually. Like, I think I gave it 4.5 stars. But the male love interest, for one thing, he was so bland. Like, I loved Cindy, the main character. So I'm like, I guess I want you to end up with him because he will make you happy. But also, he's like a saltine cracker. Like, he has no personality. So that was part of it. But then also, and I realized that this is like part of the premise, because I don't know if you guys like have read that one or like know about the setup, but it's like there's like a dating show that she ends up on, and he is like the bachelor type who is like choosing from all these like women, and like I don't watch The Bachelor or like those kinds of shows, but like I know like what the setup is like, and so probably if I like was a fan of those shows and I followed them, I probably wouldn't have cared as much. But I am realizing, because I read a couple of books now like this that have a sort of like competition element, I realize I don't like that, because the point of the romance is that it's trying to convince you that these two people specifically are like in love and have a real connection and are going to be happy together. But like the plot of the book is like he's also dating and flirting with and kissing and possibly more like all these other women. And so it's hard for that not to feel disingenuous or like cheating, even though I know that that's like his job kind of. And I know that that's the point of the book, but I'm like, I don't think I enjoy when there's like a book setup like that.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that like I just didn't have a good time, because it's like, how am I supposed to like you as a love interest and think that like you guys are perfect together when, I don't know, it feels like you're like you're shopping around. Like, it's weird.
Yeah. 1 second, I will be right back.
Well, I think I messed up, but there's not a hole, so I'm just gonna keep going.
All good, yeah.
I think I just somewhere along the way kind of like got an extra piece of like yarn in the loop.
Oh, yeah. I so often end up with like, this is an extra stitch. I don't know where it came from, but I'm just gonna like knit it away and pretend it didn't happen. It's fine. Like,
well, that's what I think happened. I think because I got to like, you know, I'm supposed to have 22 stitches, and I only had 22, but one of them had like were like double, and I'm like, well, how did that happen? Why is there a double stitch here? Because I thought, well, oh, maybe I'm down to 21. Like maybe I stitched two together, but I'm like, no, there's still 22. So I don't know why you're double. But it's fine.
Secret stitch included for luck.
I don't know. It's fine. We're gonna keep going.
Yep.
It's still a beginning project. If I mess it up, it's all right.
Yes. I still make mistakes, and I'm not a beginner, so like, it's fine.
I don't think you ever stop making mistakes. I feel like that's just part of the deal of crafting.
Exactly.
Oh, I mean, it's not a hole, but you can definitely see where it is. So, if you're looking, but who's going to be staring at my scarf?
Right. If they're inspecting that closely, who cares about their opinion? Like,
yeah, there you go. That's a you problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. But at least it's not like a giant hole. It's just something happened there. Who knows what?
I'm trying to use my little teeny printer thing, but it's not connecting to the app.
Oh.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah. Did it?
Do your job, printer.
Yeah, come on.
It's supposed to be magic, and it's just supposed to...
Exactly!
Letting the people down.
Oh, I think I might have to charge it, man. Ugh.
Power.
You have to charge magic.
Exactly, to charge magic. Ugh, do I have a charger for this? All right, 1 sec. I'll be back again.
The only problem with this yarn is it's very fuzzy, and now I'm like covered in yarn fuzz.
Yep. Occupational hazard.
Yes. Like normally I'm covered in cat hair, but no, now I'm just covered in yarn fuzz.
All right, I plugged it in. I'm going to see if I can connect to it while it's plugged in or if it has to be like charged. Ah, it's doing it. Okay.
Yay!
All right.
Are you doing a different project, Kara, or are you just...
I am, yes. So I think I'm pretty soon going to run into the same issue of like, I need to get more measurements, but I am now working on a different gift. I am making my mom a pair of gloves for her birthday, which is coming up, because she gets really cold hands, and especially at work. And I'm hoping that I used a thin enough yarn that she would maybe be able to still use her computer. I don't know. But either way. So like they have the like cabling
Oh, pretty.
Pattern here on the wrist.
Oh,
Which I'm
fancy.
very proud of. And then I'm actually almost done with one of the gloves. I'm just on the thumb, and then I have to weave in the ends, and that's it. But I have to do a whole nother one. So I need to get a move on. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now.
That seems so hard, making gloves.
I have never made them before. I had put them off because I also always thought they looked way too complicated. And at least with this pair, I don't know if other patterns are like more complicated, but it's actually not as difficult as I thought. Like it's more fiddly because you have to break your yarn and reattach it so many times because you're doing like the fingers. So it's like kind of annoying in that sense, but it's not actually difficult. Like you're basically just knitting in the round with a few stitches, you know?
Yeah.
So far, at least. We'll see.
Well, maybe someday.
Yeah.
I also wonder if I made this scarf like way too wide because it's very thick, and I'm like, I'm gonna end up not being able to get it around my neck.
It
One
can
of
be
those like really chunky. You know that picture of Lenny Kravitz with like a scarf that is like times too big? It'll be
That'll
like
be me. I'll
It
be like,
can be a blanket scarf.
well, because she was like, because it's a beginning project. She's like, well, if you put this many stitches, because she didn't give us like that you had to do 22. She's like, if you do this many, your scarf will be this wide. And if you do this many, and you could choose. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go with what she did just for fun. But I think her yarn is smaller. And so then mine is like wider than hers. So I'm like, okay.
It can be a schlanket. Have you seen it's like when they're a shawl, but like a blanket?
Yeah.
interesting. That doesn't sound very appealing. Like the word is not super appealing.
I don't think I don't think that should become the word.
I've seen it. I don't know what else. Like there probably are other words people call them. It's like fun to say, but it's not like something where you're like, I feel so elegant in my schlanket.
Yeah. Well, I just measured. I'm like, I'll measure it, and it actually is the same. Hers is 9 1/4, and mine is, oops, kid screaming, 9 1/2. So not too bad.
That is very close. Maybe it looks bigger because your yarn is thicker.
I'm gonna close the door because there's a child screaming downstairs.
I hope everyone's okay.
Oh, I'm sure he'll figure it out. We're having this. It's probably just, I don't know. I had them all morning because I took them to ice skating without him, so I'm fine with him figuring it out. But it's a hard day because normally they would have some iPad time in the afternoon to kind of just not be doing much, but they got their iPad taken away, so there's no like fallback,
Yeah. Consequences.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with a Lenny Kravitz scarf. Your scarf may become sentient and take over your body, but you'll look good.
Yeah.
Well said. That is what matters.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Is this gonna be? I mean, it's gonna be thick. It'll just be thick and cozy, right?
That's right.
All right. Got my tiny little book cover stickers.
Yeah. You got it to work?
Yes, I did. It eventually figured it out. And now I have lots of little teeny stickers of book covers because I wanted to. I now have a section that's like releases for the month, and I put like little tiny covers. So,
are you planning on? Sorry if I was texting at the same time, Joe. Are you planning on writing your reviews out, or just write like stars or?
Well, I usually do at least just like a star rating. I am hit or miss with like writing reviews. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. I don't particularly like writing out reviews, but they are helpful sometimes. But also like I take notes on Post-its in the back of my book anyway. So like it's not really a coherent review, but it still captures my thoughts, you know, as I was reading.
Yeah.
And then also, I mean, when I do make videos, I also capture my opinions that way. So I kind of am like, I feel like it's covered.
Yeah, because you can always go back and watch your video and be like, this is what I thought of that book.
That's true. Although I never really do that because I like once in a while if I have to for like a specific reason, but most of the time I'm just like, once I post a video, I'm like, I don't really want to watch this anymore. Like,
let it be in the past.
I really want to write reviews. Like, I want to. I tell myself this is what I want to do because especially I forget about books. And so if I come back like 3 years later and I want to recommend a book for somebody, I would like to remember whether I really liked that book. I mean, I might have given it 4 stars, but I was like, was it like a 4-star of like, oh, I want to recommend this? Or is it a 4-star like, yeah, it's a solid 4-star, move on, not necessarily like what I want to tell everybody about.
Yeah.
But so like, I want to be that person, but I am obviously not that person. Because I can't make myself write it. And I even like, I was like, well, maybe I just need to do it in a book journal. I've tried like 3 different times to write a book journal and it does not work. I do not do it.
For a little while, I was in a really good habit of writing like short reviews on Goodreads for the books I finished. Like, I mean, review is maybe generous. Sometimes they would be long enough and detailed enough to be like a short review. But like sometimes it was just like a few sentences on like what I liked and like the one thing I didn't like or whatever. But it still made such a difference. It was very helpful when I was like filming my wrap up or like preparing to film my wrap ups. But like I don't know why. Maybe I just got lazy, but I haven't been as on top of that lately. Or like if I do write something on Goodreads, it's like sometimes I'll remember like, oh no, I definitely remember that I wrote something for this book. I'll just like look at what I said. And all I said was something like, oof, my heart. And I'm like, that doesn't help.
Like, pass, Kara, that's not giving me anything.
Exactly. Pass, Kara was not helpful at all. Thanks. Like
I do like it. I used to at the beginning of BookTube, I used to like write, even if it was just like 2 sentences or 3 sentences, or even just bullet points. And I found that really helpful when I would go back. And now I don't think I've written a review in like 2 years. And like, I'm like, I should get back to doing just bullet points or something like to help jog my memory.
Yeah. I always find it really helpful to have my like notes in the back of the book that like I still sometimes have to kind of sort through them a little bit to be like what, because it's very stream of consciousness and like very short bullets, but it's still like something to hang like grab onto, you know. So then sometimes I also run into things like there are some books where I have usually like average book I fill up like 1 post-it. There are some books where I layer like 5 post-its with like so many things that I'm like, what is happening here? And then there are some where I open it and I'm like, there was 1 bullet that was like, this is okay.
past Huck equally as helpful as past Kara.
Exactly.
Thanks. Because also like I like to reread, and I think it would also help me if I knew like this is a book I would really like to return to and like.
Yeah, that's true.
Because sometimes I like think I want to reread a book and then I get into it and I'm like, you know, I don't think that I remembered that I didn't like all this part of this book.
Yeah.
I feel like March has a bunch of releases that I am looking forward to.
Oh yeah? Like
I have 5 that are like, I mean, there are lots more that I like I'm kind of keeping an eye on, but 5 that I'm like excited about.
I have been last year I looked and I read 4 new releases the entire 2023.
Yeah.
And I didn't read and I think only one of those was on my anticipated list. So it was just like I went in the library and picked up a couple, but they weren't actually on my list. But so this year I was like, I'm not gonna do like a traditional display release. If it shows up in my library, maybe, or somebody talks about it. But yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like also, like, to be fair, I feel like 2023 was like not good for new releases. You know, it, at least for me, but I feel like I've heard a couple of other people say it too, that they're just like, there was not a lot of like really great new releases in 2023. There were like maybe a few, but it wasn't like, there are some years where you're just like, there are so many things coming out left and right that I'm like so excited about. But
Yeah. I think I generally have a similar number of books I'm excited about, but sometimes from year to year, I can definitely tell where it's like, oh, I have multiple books where it's like, this is a new book from one of my all-time favorite authors, you know, so like a different level of like excited about it. Like we finally are getting that Rosamund Hodge book. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for like literally 6 years or something. Like, it's been so long.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. I hope I like it, but given the fact that I really enjoyed even the series that everybody hates, I think I'm in good shape. So,
yeah. Well, I have that like. Oh, sorry. I saw you put up.
Natalie was saying that wants to read at least a few 2024 releases because she thinks she read one last year. Yeah, I have not been reading very many new releases. Like I have a few. I usually have like a few review copies, which is great. And other than that, it's like, well, I'm sure buying new releases, but I'm not really reading them as quickly.
Yeah.
But.
I don't think I bought any new releases last year. So at least I wasn't like buying and not reading them. And I also just like, I think I was reading a lot that I already owned, which was good. So
yeah.
Like, and I didn't even read that, like last year I read the lowest, I didn't even reach 100 books, which in the past like 6 years, that's the lowest by a lot. But I mean, I don't like have like a goal of how many, but it is weird to not have read very many new releases because I feel like I usually read a few. But I've also been really disappointed. I think in the year before 2022, I was really disappointed in a lot of the like new releases that it kind of took away some of that like excitement.
Yeah.
New books and there's some authors that are normally, oh, I gotta read that, but have let me down with more recent new releases that I'm like, maybe I will just like wait and decide if I want to read that.
Yeah. I actually, I have a friend who just recently read Nettle and Bone and she like wasn't the biggest fan, but she's reading Sword Heart right now and she's loving it. And I'm like, I can't relate, but I'm happy for you. Like, yeah. I mean, that one is one a lot of people like, though.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people. So, I mean, I'm glad. I don't understand, but I'm glad.
At least I'm not the only one. Like, I just keep, like, taking solace in the fact that you felt the same way because normally I feel like I'm the party pooper that, like, doesn't like what everybody else likes. And I'm like, is nobody else seeing this? And then at least Kara is seeing it.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so glad that we buddy read it so that we at least had like the immediacy of being able to rant about it.
Yeah.
Have either of you read? Sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
I was gonna say I did read House with Good Bones last month and I enjoyed that one. So it was like, okay, I'm feeling some redemption.
Yeah.
For my, and it was one of those where as soon as I started reading it, I was like, oh, this is her. Like we're getting like this is the like what I love.
Yeah. Have either of you guys read The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy?
No, after your review, I did not want to.
Because that's one of the ones for me where I'm like, did I read the same book everyone else did? Like, because I don't know of the people that I follow. I think I've only heard that people really enjoyed it. And so I'm kind of like adrift. I don't know. It's like
I feel like that's my whole reading life, honestly.
yeah.
I feel like I am
Yeah.
I am like way too picky about books, and I tend to like dislike things that everyone else is loving, and I'm just like, I swear I don't hate it just because everyone else loves it. I just don't get it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to be like that. I'm not like other girls, and
Exactly. I'm not like other readers.
I know. I want you to enjoy what you read, and if everybody's loving a book, I'm so happy that they're loving it. But for some reason, I'm like, I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't understand.
A lot of us feel that way though. And it's funny that like so many of us are like, it's only me. I'm only, I'm alone in my negativity.
Yeah.
But it can definitely feel like that. Yeah. I think also it's like the more books that you read, I think it's natural that you get pickier because it's not just because of like a negative reason, it's like also positive because you're like, well, I have read enough books that I love to know what I really like and to know that it's possible to do it really well. So it's sort of like I have high standards and I won't settle for less. And like I won't apologize for it. I deserve it.
It does make me nervous about reading popular books though, and I just want to like some of them, and some of them I'm like, oh, that sounds good, but then I'm like, oh, everybody loves it. What if I hate it? Like I just recently read Reckless Vows, and that was like one of those like TikTok darlings, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna hate it because everybody loves it, and I'm gonna be the like annoying person that hates it. But I ended up enjoying it. I didn't give it 5 stars, like gushing love, but it was a solid 4 stars for me. I enjoyed it. And so I was like, okay, I can like what other people like things, okay?
It's really nice to have those periodic reminders of like sometimes I can be in with the cool kids. Like
honestly, sometimes also I just go like, oh good, I do like reading.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I wonder when I have too many in a row where I'm like, wow, I don't like this. I'm like, do I even like books? I don't know.
Do I even read?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to text my husband about what's going on there because I'm just checking if he needs a break.
You're like, is somebody bleeding? Like,
no, it's a large emotional outburst.
Ooh.
All right. I am almost done with this. I'm just adding some floral stickers.
Yeah, no, she's just been having these, I don't know, were just some growing pains, anxiety issues that have led to big outbursts. So just figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's one thing though that I have to say, like, obviously I'm not going to talk about her personal journey or anything like that, but I feel like more people need to like normalize therapy for children, that like that you don't have to be old and jaded to like go to therapy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And she's young, so it's going to take her longer probably to work through some things like and figure it out, but that therapy is normal.
Yeah.
But he says he's fine. She's good. She's simmering, but under control, like under control.
Yeah. I think I am maybe at a stopping point for my glove here. Because I also I could start weaving in some more of the ends, which I had done earlier, but I'm nervous about the stitches sliding off while I do that.
Oh yeah.
So I might just wait. I don't know.
So do you weave in your ends mid-project, or does it just depend on what you're in the mood for?
Yeah, it kind of depends. Like, I'm trying to be more consistent about doing it as I go, because I find that so much less annoying than having to do like 14 yarn ends at the end, or actually sometimes way more than that, depending on what you're making. So it does depend, but I'm trying to be more consistent about doing it a little at a time instead of saving it all up so I can be grumpy about it.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, like, I mean, even this, I mean, I will have more, but right now I just have the beginning, and I'm like, I kind of just want to weave that in because it annoys me that there's just like this
Yeah.
random tail that's getting all frayy, and then I'm like, the more it frays, the harder it's going to be to get it into the tapestry needle. So I should just do it now before it gets even more frayed.
Yeah.
So I think I might just do it and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm done.
Woo! Look at you.
All right. I don't know if this will like come across well, but this is my spread. This is the beginning.
Oh, I love the M.
Thank you. And then I just have like, haul, releases, and my reading log.
Oh,
that's
cool. Overly ambitious. I put 8 lines for reading log. I probably will use like 2 of them, but
hey, that's okay. Dream big.
Dream big. But yeah, all right.
Well, what do you do on your reading log? Like, do you write when you read, or what is the reading log?
No, I just do the title and the rating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see if I have.
Because I can just never understand I mean, if any of you are these people, I just have a hard time understanding the people that can write like how many pages they read in a sitting or in a day. And I'm like,
that's not for me.
You remember to do that every time you sit? Because what if I just am reading? Sometimes I just read an ebook while I'm waiting at the doctor's office. Am I going to then go back and figure out how many pages I read that?
Yeah. And I also feel like for me, there's the added worry of like making it too mechanical almost. Like, so like I have a couple friends who like swear by the Bookly app. And one of the things that it'll do is tell you like at your current speed, how long will it take you to read the rest of the book. And like that stresses me out.
Yeah. So like I gotta do it.
And also I think sometimes it's like if I'm at a deadline and I'm like finishing something for like a discussion or a live show or whatever, it's like I don't want to know the math of like how screwed I am or like how late I'm gonna be going to bed because I need to finish this. It's like, don't tell me. Don't tell me the odds. Like
yeah, that's a lot. That's too much for me. I do not.
Yeah.
Like one time I did a specific experiment like a few years ago.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, that was about like how fast do I read, and so I for like a month, or was it a week or a month? I don't remember how long it was, but it was a set period of time. I did essentially time myself every time I like picked up a book in the app. You like hit start, and then when you're done, you hit stop, and then it like tells you stats about it, and it will tell you that like at their current speed, how long will it take you to finish, and like things like that. And like that was kind of exhausting to do, even just for a short period of time. I was like, this is not a thing that I would do all the time. This was like for a very specific experiment.
Yeah. Wait, was that in Bookly that you did it?
Maybe it was. Maybe it was Bookly. I don't remember what the app was, but that sounds familiar.
Because the only time I've ever like even tried that was the summer reading at the library, and you can get like a prize. Well, like I think it was a couple summers ago, I was like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna get a prize. So because I read a lot, I was like, I'm gonna win a prize. And I did the like thing where they have like an app where at times where you put in how much time. So you start at the beginning of your reading and then push end, and then it calculates and all that. One, I did not win the prize. So somebody out there was reading even more than me. And I read a ton that summer because I wanted to win the prize.
Yeah.
I'm like, somebody has even less of a life than I do. And
You're like, I want to know who you are.
yeah, because I was reading a lot that summer, especially audiobooks, because I was like, I'm going to do this. But anyways, but in the thing that bothered me was like, you know, when you're doing little snippets, like sometimes I listen to a book while I'm in the shower, you know, like on my speaker. And so then it's like, I have to go into the app right before I go in the shower and like turn on the timer and then remember to turn off the timer after. I'm like, this is too much to remember to turn the timer on and off. And
or like I really like doing, and this is especially helpful when it's like Dr. Thorne, for example, where it's like a really long book and I'm kind of struggling to like motivate myself. Is a lot of times I'll do like 1 or 2 chapters at a time and then I'll go and do something else. So like maybe it's like a chore type thing, you know, like whatever. And that is really helpful for me. And I feel like it suits my kind of productivity style really well. And that would be so annoying to have to track. Like I don't want to have to do that. Like I don't want to put so many steps into my reading routine that it starts feeling like a task or like a chore. So
yep, just want to read and maybe talk about it. I mean, I do want to get back on a more consistent recording, but it's so hard in this place. There's just not a good place to record. Like this place where I usually record, my daughter has kind of taken over it because she wanted to kind of have a place that's her own away from her sister instead of sharing a room. And so I'm like, well, I can't always record in here because sometimes she's in here and I'm like, I want her to have a private space. And or there's just a huge mess. Like I had to move so many toys just to get over and sit here today.
Yep. So since I feel like we're at a good stopping place with our projects, do we feel like we want to call it for the craft sprints tonight, or
what
do you guys think?
Sure.
I was probably going to have to go soon anyways, because I feel like there's a point where I should sub out and see what's going on down there.
Right. All right. So thank you guys for those of you watching along with us. And for those of you who watch it back later, thanks for hanging out as we craft and talk and just have a good time. Huck and Kelly are linked in the description. And yeah, this is our first 2024 crafting sprint. So like we definitely, I think the plan is to be a little more frequent, but we'll see.
We'll see how that goes.
Who knows? It's always a fun surprise when we pop up with a sprint. So
Yeah.
all right. Bye.
Bye.